Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 1, entitled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrat, text 13 and 14. Text 13 is on the board. Bhavaya nashaya cha karma kartum, shokaya mohaya sadabhayaya, Sukhaya dukkhaya cha deha yogam, Avyaktadishtam janatanga dhatte, Bhavaya nashaya cha karma kartum, Shokaya mohaya sadabhayaya, Sukhaya dukkhaya cha deha yogam, Avyaktadishtam janatanga dhatte, Bhavaya nashaya cha karma kartum, Shokaya mohaya sadabhayaya, Sukhaya dukkhaya cha deha yogam, Avyaktadishtam janatanga dhatte, Bhavaya nashaya cha karma kartum, Sokaya mohaya sadabhayaya, Sukhaya dukkhaya cha deha yogam, Avyaktadishtam janatanga dhatte, Bhavaya nashaya cha karma kartum, Shokaya mohaya sadabhayaya, Sukhaya dukkhaya cha deha yogam, Avyaktadishtam janatanga dhatte, Bhavaya nashaya cha karma kartum, Shokaya mohaya sadhabhayaya, Sukhaya dukkhaya cha deha yogam, Avyaktadishtam janatanga dhatte. Any Matis like to recite? Okay. Word to word meaning. Bhavaya, for birth. Nashaya, for death. Cha, also. Karma, activity. Kartum, to do. Shokaya, for bereavement. Mohaya, for illusion. Sada, always. Bhayaya, for fear. Sukhaya, for happiness. Dukhaya, for distress. Cha, also. Deha yogam, connection with a material body. Avyakta, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dishtam, directed. Janata, the living entities. Anga, O Priyavrat. Dhatte, accept. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. My dear Priyavrat, by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities accept different types of bodies for birth and death, activity, lamentation, illusion, fear of future dangers, and happiness and distress. Purport. Every living entity who has come to this world has come here for material enjoyment. But according to his own karma, activities, he must accept a certain type of body given to him by material nature under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.27, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashah. Everything is being done by Prakriti, material nature, under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Modern scientists do not know why there are varieties of bodies in the 8,400,000 forms. The fact is that all these bodies are ordained for the living entities by the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to the living entities' desires. He gives the living entities freedom to act as they like, but on the other hand, they must accept a body according to the reactions of their activities. Thus, there are different types of bodies. Some living entities have short durations of life, whereas others live for fantastic durations. Every one of them, however, from Brahma down to the ant, acts according to the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is sitting in everyone's heart. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matah smritir jnanam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. It is not a fact, however, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives direction to a certain living entities in one way and other living entities in another way. The truth is that every living entity has a certain desire, and the Supreme Lord gives him a chance to fulfill it. The best course, therefore, is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and act according to his desire. One who does so is liberated. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So we seek the blessings of all the devotees to discuss something today on Srimad Bhagavatam. So this section that we are seeing is the conversation of Brahma with Priyavrat. As we have heard from all these days, Brahma is now trying to convince Priyavrat to take up the responsibility of leadership and administration of this material world. Priyavrat was not very interested. So Brahmaji now speaks a few verses which basically from 11th verse, this is the 13th verse, from the 11th verse to the 16th verse. In this section of verses, he speaks about how the Lord is the supreme controller. and that we are supremely controlled. Okay, so this verse shows how the Lord has an absolute power of control over everything. And it also shows our helpless position, that we are bound, we are baddha jivas, we are superior to the powers or the laws of God. So in today's discussion, we like to try to present 4 points. One is that can we, if Lord is the supreme controller of everything, He is the one, by His order we get all these bodies, including Sukham, Dukkham and all this, can we blame the Lord for our idiosyncrasies, for our natures, for our mishaps, or anything that goes wrong in our life? First discussion. Second, we will see how a surrendered person is beyond the 3 modes. Third, which will come in the next verse, 14th verse, we will discuss a little about Varna Ashrama Dharma, what its traditional and functional definitions. And then fourth, we will see about the bull pull by a rope analogy, which is there in the next verse. So 2 points from this verse and 2 points from next verse. So first, let us see, whether can we blame God for all our weirdness in life that happens. So here in this section in Bhagavatam, in fact in many places across Bhagavatam, we will see the words being used like it is the order of the Lord. One must accept. This is a direction of the Lord. Dishtam. Dishtam basically means like faith. So when something is faith, what are you going to fight against? If something is fated, what are you going to fight against? So sometimes, like in Hindi we say zabardasti, life feels like a zabardasti, You never chose the body, you never chose the family, you never chose how your intelligence, you never chose anything, and somehow or other we are placed into this life and we have to live. It's unfair, isn't it? Like people who work the jobs they do not like, they feel frustrated. We have to live the lives we do not want. So then people come across and ask that it seems like the Lord to be so autocratic, isn't it? So autocratic. This is the way to live. You have no choice. So it's sections like this that come out throughout the Bhagavatam, which kind of make us, flinch. If you see in other religion, Abrahamic religions, if you read throughout the Bible or throughout the Quran, from start to end, it is that only. This is the order of the Lord. If you do not follow the order of the Lord, you're dead. So yesterday's class, we discussed we heard about some verses in Bhagavad Gita where the Lord says that if you do not have faith in me, you're gone. That if you do not surrender to me, gone. If you envy me, you're gone. Right? Sometimes, the descriptions feels that God is some person with a gun or with a whip. So autocratic it feels. So the Abrahamic religions, they have that. Where they say that, if you do not surrender to this God, you will be burnt in hell forever. Hellfire and brimstone. So this discusses a lot about the wrath of God. Now imagine if you read a whole grantha or whole shastra, which from start to end speaks only about this. At every page, at every verse you turn, surrender or die, surrender or die, surrender or die. How will one feel? One will feel quite scary, isn't it? One may even be turned off. What is this? So therefore you see the grace that we have is that Bhagavatam actually speaks about this throughout. If you look at the whole pastime, Dhruv Maharaj surrendered, he got success. Vritasur surrendered, he got success. Gajendra surrendered, he got success. So from beginning to end, it's all about the ashraya. It is all about surrendering to Lord. But how it is presented with leelas and the emotions, the vyaktitva, the personality of God is presented, that makes it digestible. If it's just the instruction, like this verse, the Lord has made you to accept these bodies, abhi bhog karo, sukh, dukh, bhaya, everything, you have to suffer it. The Lord has made the rules. So when we see the Lord's direction, or when the Lord's dishtam, it feels very cold, very hard. But when we know about the Lord's personality, that allows us to digest His order. So we know about the Lord's sweetness, the Lord's beauty, the Lord's leela. Jai Shri Shri Radha Vrindavan Bihari Shriman Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki Jai. So this allows us to digest this. Therefore the leela aspect, what is Bhagavatam, the pastimes of the Lord, allows us to digest what seems to be like the autocratic nature of the Lord. Okay, so this is the fact that we have to cultivate exclusive surrender. There's no other way. Ultimately, we are all pushed towards cultivating exclusive surrender and dependence on Krishna. There is no allowance for having my space within His grace. That I want Lord's grace, I want Lord's mercy, I want to be a devotee. At the same time, I want to have my space also. The way I like, the way I think, the way I want to function. So there is no my space within His grace. Actually, there's no. But when we hear this thing, we feel kind of a, jatka. That is it, I'm losing my individuality, that I have no enjoyment. Okay, so this becomes the most difficult thing to actually genuinely cultivate surrender. So but somehow or other, if we focus all our endeavors, purpose, and thought for doing something for Krishna's pleasure, that itself allows us to achieve surrender. So ultimately, we have to come to surrender, and the descriptions of Bhagavatam as it's presented helps us. Now, taking an argumentative stand, if let's say someone hearing the shloka says that, see, God is the one who's getting me, to lamentation, illusion, fear, danger, happiness, all these kind of things. So therefore, someone may misconstrue this statement and argue, I am the way I am because God has made me like this. Now, Prabhupada writes in the purport, it is not that God directs one person one way and directs another person another way. Sometimes I'm sure all of you have come across people, especially some aunties who come and they say, oh, you're so nice devotee, आप भक्त हैं, क्या बोलो, आपका टाइम है, भगवान, God's calling, इसलिए आप ऐसा बन गया, हमारा अभी तक टाइम नहीं आया, अभी तक call नहीं आया. Have you heard something like this? They say that, oh, the calling has come, that's why you became a devotee. You have got the calling, that's why you became brahmachari. Our time has not come yet, so we'll go on. So is it some calling? हमने कुछ phone call उठाया क्या? So then you think about it, no. So what these people feel that? Aram. When God decides to make me a devotee, that time I'll become a devotee. तब तक मेरा problem नहीं है. मैं क्यों भक्त नहीं बनाए? Why I'm not a devotee? Whose fault is it? His fault. So similarly, a person may say, why am I suffering? His fault. Why am I doing something wrong? His fault. Give you an example. So one time a man was there, married man, and he was cheating on his wife. And one day his wife caught him cheating. And the wife was very distressed. And the wife approached the husband and said, why do you do like this? We have family, we have children. Why are you doing like this? And husband feels so guilty and bad. And he says that, what can I tell you? Do I want to be like this? Do I want to be lusty? I don't want to be lusty. Do I want to do like this? I don't want to do like this. But what can I do? God made me the way I am. God made me the way I am. What can I do? I also know it's wrong. I don't want to do it. Why are you blaming me? Blame him. Why did he make me like this? So many other people are not lusty. Why am I like this? I don't want like this. So someone may misconstrue that Lord has forced me to accept this life, accept this body, and therefore all the sukh, dukh and problems, He is the one giving to me. So of course we know the philosophy, so we won't think like this, but many people think like this, that this is not my fault. किसने मुझे जबरदस्ती धक्का मारा वो दुनिया में आ गया, मैं ने पूछा नहीं. I didn't ask for it. So therefore Prabhupada here mentions that ultimately is the jiva's desire. We cannot think like that. It is the jiva's desire that he wants to enjoy, and the jiva forgets. The jiva forgets that he had such a desire. The Lord as Paramatma reminds him, you still have this hidden desire, exhaust it. You have this hidden desire, remove it. Get rid of it. When you get rid of it, then you will not desire it again. So someone may say that, Lord, why to remember me? I myself forgot. I myself have forgotten the desire. Why are you reminding me? But actually we have not forgotten. It has just become temporarily covered within the subconscious of our own hearts. Some situation will come where it props up again. Now, some people have seen a whole life of nice, and suddenly at the end, there's some mistake done in life. Why? The desires were there lingering. So Krishna's Paramatma is very kind. He knows that just artificially removing will not work. Cutting the grass will not work. Remove by the root. So to remove by the root, Krishna says, remind you, experience, nikalo usko. Either through knowledge or through direct sensual experience. Either way, you remove that desire. Uproot that desire. So it is a jiva's desire. We understand that. So one should not misconstrue this verse to think that, the Lord has forced me to accept body. Therefore, the Lord has forced me to do sin or to do whatever. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the first chapter, when Kamsa arrests Devaki and wants to kill her, so Vasudev pleads with Kamsa not to kill Devaki. He gives some arguments, he gives some logic. In that section, a few verses, he speaks about karma, birth, death, and reincarnation. He speaks about that. So he says a nice verse. Deha panchatyamapane. That means this body becomes the pancha elements. That means when the body is gone. Dehi karmanugo vashaha. The deha is body, the dehi, the soul is karma anuga. Follows his own karma. When this body is destroyed, the soul, dehi, follows its own karma. Dehi karmanugo vashaha. He has no control. Dehantaram anuprapya. Next body anuprapya. Again and again he is getting a new body. Prakritanam tyajate vapu. And again he is leaving that body. So he gives the philosophy that a person takes birth only because of his own previous karma. Karma anugaha. He is following his own karma. He gives an example in the next sloka. He says, Vrajam stishtan padaikena yatai vaikena gachanti yata trina jalokaivam dehi karma gatim gata. He gives two examples. He gives an example of a person walking. When a person walks, first he puts one foot down, then he puts another foot. He doesn't jump, isn't it? When we walk, he puts one foot down first, then he puts the next foot. Similarly, when a jiva wants to take a new body, first he accepts a new body, then he gives up this body. He gives another example, in case this is not so clear. Someone may say that, why walk? I can jump also. He says, Trina jalokaivam. Trina jalokaivam is a caterpillar. A caterpillar, when he moves on the leaf, when he wants to cross from one leaf to another leaf, first the caterpillar holds on to the second leaf, then it gives up the first leaf. So similarly, the jiva in this life have already created their next life. He has already created the conceptions for the next body, subtly. And holding on to that thought of whatever the next body is, then he gives up this body. So that's why when there's a akala mrityu, achanak, there's some death, when the actual formation of that consciousness of next body has not come, a person lingers as a ghost. Because na idhar na udhar. So all our lives now, as we are thinking and preparing and whatever it is, if the thoughts is not Krishna conscious, we will not get a Krishna conscious birth. We are start creating another birth in our mind. And however we live in this life, if a person lives very tamasically, then he creates a tamogun existence in the next life. Whatever prani may be. Slowly that consciousness is developing, subtle to gross. Of course, gross is given by their parents in the future life, but that subtle is creating. So when this body is given up, actually he has already got a destination. So if we take this example, we cannot blame the Lord. Why? Who told us to put step in that place? Who told the caterpillar to catch this leaf, not that leaf? That is the traveler's own decision, isn't it? God has told, if you put your foot here, you will step in a puddle of water. If you put your foot here, you will step on stone, you will not slip. But who makes the choice? The jiva. So the jiva made the choice to place the foot on which ground. Similarly, the caterpillar chose which leaf to hold on to. So here itself it shows very clearly that although the laws of God are very rigid, very stringent, but still we cannot blame him for the choices that we make. We choose where to put our step. We choose which leaf to hold on to. Right? And by the laws of karma we are forced to. So therefore, to take another birth we are forced. As long as we do not become God conscious, what we become and how we become is totally up to us. Another verse comes in Bhagavad Gita. Purusha prakriti stohi punkte prakriti jangunan karanam gunasangosya sat asat yoni janmasu. Because of the influence of gunas, modes, that is what determines our next birth. Whether it's a sat yoni or an asat yoni, a good birth or a bad birth. So if in this life we are attached to tamogun, rajogun, and even sattvagun in one sense, that's what will shape our next body. If a person is too sattvaguni, so sattvaguni, focus only on sattvagun, you will get a very nice clean Brahmana, what you call as a Suchi birth. Right? If a person is Tamoguni, he'll get a Tamogun birth. So any Sangha with the gunas, Sat Asat Yoni Janmasu. And now for a devotee, we don't want Sat now, we don't want Asat. Yoni Janmasu sunke hum dar gaya. We don't want Janmasu. So that's why Prabhupada writes in the purport, last line of this purport, the truth is that every living entity has a certain desire and the Supreme Lord gives him a chance to fulfill it. The best course, therefore, is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and act according to his desire, not my desire. One who does so is liberated. Right? So this is the first point of discussion. Can we blame God for our idiosyncrasies or something bad that happens? No. Because although the laws are stringent, choice is very clear given to us. Which sangha of which guna that we want to take is given to us. Now, second point which I wanted to discuss today, that if a person is liberated, he is beyond the three modes. A person who has taken surrender of the Lord, he is beyond the three modes. So later in the 16th verse of this section, they will mention how for a liberated soul, because of his prarabdha karma, he just simply maintains this body just like a dream. So how does a Jivan Mukta act? A Jivan Mukta, liberated soul, he has sukh, he has dukh, he experienced this, but he doesn't allow it to affect him. Just like a person in a dream. When a person wakes up from a dream, he gets a bad dream, a nightmare, or a good dream, he doesn't take it very seriously. So for a Jivan Mukta, whatever sukh and dukh and difficulty that avails or happens to his body or his life, he doesn't take it very seriously. Just continue, just continue, just continue. So this is what Prabhupada means, that by one who does so is liberated. If we take surrender unto the Lord, one is liberated. So we can see a wonderful extreme example of even our own sampradaya, our acharyas. Okay, of course, we always discuss about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, very exemplary, very organized, systematic. We discuss about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, also very organized, systematic preaching, Prabhupada. But there were also personalities like Jagannath Das Babaji, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Vamsi Das Babaji, Maharaj, who were, in one sense, eccentrics, that they were Babajis. If you see the life of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, 30 years he spent in Vrindavan doing bhajan. After 30 years, he felt that you cannot get Vraja Prem or Krishna Prem in Vrindavan. After 30 years, he felt like that. Vrindavan se nahi milega ye. He thought, where to get it? You have to take shelter of Mahaprabhu. 30 years of doing bhajan in Vrindavan, he left and he came back to Navadvip. And he said, now I need to take shelter of Navadvip. This is the place that I can actually get Krishna Prem. So he started doing bhajan there. How was the lifestyle of Gaur Krishna? Of course, Paramahamsa, Mahabhagavat. He would eat dirt when he felt hungry. Not even leaves. He would eat dirt. Can you imagine? This is a whole level, different level of Mrida Bhakshan Leela. He would eat dirt when he felt hungry. And he would sleep in toilets. Now, if we are talking about modes, this is ignorance, dirt and toilet. So, Karanam Guna Sangyasa, do we expect that someone associating with that mode, acting like that, is actually going to become, Tamogun next life or something like that? No, because he is totally liberated. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remembers his own guru when he is speaking about it in one Vyasa Puja. So he's saying that, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he would scold and chastise everyone he meet. It was very, how you say in modern context, chit-chit admi hai. But chit-chit karte hai. He'll beat people, whack people, shout at people, chase people away. He looked very frustrated, very disappointed. But the moment Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur saw him, he understood he's a Mahabhagavat. And even he would scold Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he still accepted. He said, really, all my years of learning and everything was crushed before Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. So he said, such a person, he was first impressed that he was not at all impressed with his scholarship. He said that if my whole life everyone has been impressed by my scholarship, but this is one person who was not at all attracted to my scholarship, meaning he had something more precious in his life. He had something more greater in life. He had a bigger wealth. He had a better dhan, that he could not appreciate this dhan that I so-called carry. So he said, what is that dhan? He has Krishna Prem. He has Krishna Prem, therefore everything else in this world seems very insignificant. There are many shlokas like that in Mukunda Mala Stotra also mentioned. When you see the Lord, everything else and everyone else becomes like a kita, becomes just like a worm, isn't it? Becomes so insignificant. So here we can see how if one associate with the modes, one gets next life, whatever, sad asad yoni, but at the same time, if a person is surrendered to the Lord, he comes actually focuses on beyond the modes. Right? He becomes beyond the modes. So, Bhagavatam also mentions this. Etat ishanam ishasya prakriti stopi tat gunai na yujjate sadatmaste yata buddhis tarashreya. That just like the Lord who is beyond the three modes, the devotee who is surrendered unto the Lord is also beyond three modes. So three modes condition us to see things in three shades: good, bad and ugly. But the pure devotees, the surrendered souls, they move throughout this world without any biasing, without seeing which is good, which is bad, which is ugly. And sometimes we get so caught up in this, that which is pure, which is not pure, which is clean, which is not clean. In one sense, we have to follow, but in one sense, we cannot be too fanatical about it also, which we are going to discuss in the next verse, which is going to talk about Varna Ashram. Okay? So, the second verse, I'll just read this, carrying this thread, where we cannot be too fanatical about the gunas also. So, I'll just read the translation of the next verse, 14th verse, as well as the purport. So, Prabhupada writes the translation: My dear boy, which is Priyavrat, Brahma is speaking, all of us are bound by the Vedic injunctions to the divisions of Varna Ashrama according to our qualities and work, Guna Karma. These divisions are very difficult to avoid because they are scientifically arranged. So he says Varna Ashram cannot be avoided. The divisions cannot be avoided. We must therefore carry out our duties of Varna Ashrama, Dharma, like bulls, obliged to move according to the direction of a driver pulling on ropes knotted to their noses. So the best person to speak this verse is Radha Madan Gopal, because he never pulled a bull by the nose. He did the more tough job. Okay, tough verse to speak while Jiva Mukti is here, isn't it? So, prota nasiva dvipade. Just like a bull is roped through the nose and you pull, you follow. So all of us, all jivatmas are being pulled by the nose according to the injunctions of the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada writes in the purport, in these words, the words tantyam gunakarma dhamabi are very important. We each get a body according to our association with the gunas, just like we discussed, the qualities of the mode of nature. We act accordingly. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the four orders of social system, namely Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, are arranged according to the guna and karma, their qualities and work. So now Prabhupada says, sometimes there's a controversy. Okay? What is the controversy? Some say that since one receives a body according to guna and karma of past life, prarabdha karma, it is one's birth that determines your social status. That means because of prarabdha karma, that's why we get. So if one is born as a Brahmin, it's because of one's good karma which is done. So some people say that, how do you design a person? How do you actually designate a person, whether he's a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? See their birth. Because previously they have done, therefore they have got this birth. So therefore previously he was Brahmanical inclined, therefore he became a Brahmin boy. He is a Brahmana. This is the first theory. Okay. Then Prabhupada says, others however say that one's birth according to guna and karma in the past life is not essential, since one can change his guna and karma in this life. So one is saying that designation of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya is according to prarabdha karma. And another school is saying designation of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra is according to kriyamana karma, the karma that you do in this life. So is it prarabdha or is it kriyamana? Prabhupada says, okay, I'm skipping a few lines. This version, the second version, is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam by Narada Muni. So while instructing Yudhishthir Maharaj about the symptoms of guna and karma, Narada Muni said that the symptoms must govern the divisions of society. In other words, If a person is born in a family of a Brahmana and has symptoms of a Shudra, he should be designated as Shudra. So we do not follow Prarabdha. We follow Kriyamana. If a Shudra has Brahmanical qualities, Prabhupada says, he should be designated as a Brahmana. The Varnashram system is scientific. Therefore, we accept the divisions of Varna and Ashrama according to Vedic instructions. Our lives will be successful unless human society, Prabhupada is saying, unless human society is divided into this and arranged according to this, it cannot be perfect. He quotes from Vishnu Puran, famous verse, Varnashrama charatva purushena parapuman Vishnu aradhyate panta nanya tattosha karanam. But speaking about the divisions, Prabhupada is going to focus on Vishnu aradhyate. He's going to focus that purpose of Varnashram. He's not going to focus on the details of Varnashram. He's focusing the purpose of Varnashram. Why there must be a division? Because to divide them according to their functionality so that they can serve Vishnu. Prabhupada goes on to say, there is no other way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must be situated in the institution of Varna and Ashram. So all human society is meant to worship Lord Vishnu. For those who want to be included in human society, they follow in Varna Ashram. Then Prabhupada says, at the present moment, however, human society does not know that this is the ultimate goal of life. Therefore, instead of worshipping Vishnu, people have been educated to worship matter. Like Prabhuji that day is giving class, he was saying that purpose of a king is to follow the orders of the Lord. But nowadays, people are following the orders of the people. For the government, for the people, by the people. By the people, for the people, like that. According to the direction of modern society, men think they can advance in civilization by manipulating matter to build skyscrapers, big roads, automobiles, and so on. Such a civilization must certainly be called materialistic because it does not know the goal of life. The goal of life is to reach Vishnu, but instead of reaching Vishnu, people are bewildered by the external manifestation of material energy. Therefore, progress in material advancement is blind, and the leaders of such material advancement are also blind. It is best, therefore, to accept the injunctions of the Vedas, which are mentioned in this verse as yat vachi. Okay. Then Prabhupada writes a very interesting line. In accordance with those injunctions, everyone, Prabhupada says, everyone should find out whether he is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, and thus be educated accordingly. Prabhupada saying everyone should find out. Jao, dundo. Tu Brahmin hai kya, Kshatriya hai kya, Vaishya hai kya, Shudra. And be educated accordingly. So in this regard, I'll just share some points now. Now, so these are the two theories, Prarabdha Karma, Kriyamana Karma. We follow Kriyamana Karma. When Prabhupada speaks about Varna Ashram, he's focusing on the purpose, which is Vishnu worship. When Prabhupada says that everyone should find out what they are, then his life will be successful. Else, human society will be confused. Prabhupada writes like that. This indicates the inclinations or the proclivity. Of this, a rough idea is given in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita gives the definition of a Brahmana, gives a definition. This gives us a rough idea. This should not be taken in the traditional sense, at least in Kali Yuga. Because we have seen in some early days in ISKCON in 80s, there were gurukuls which would admit children and divide children according to Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. Maybe Prabhuji have heard about this. This happened for some years before it got closed down. So some of the boys who came in, the Acharya, or the Gurukul teacher, Gurukul Maharaj, would actually see the proclivity, the inclination of this boy and say, Isko Brahmana mein dalo, Isko Shudra mein dalo. So if the person was a Shudra, he would do all the cooking and cleaning. And the person was a Brahmana, he will do all the puja and shastric learning. They will see the inclination of the children. And so in ISKCON at one time, Gurukul functioned like this. But of course it did not last. Where everyone realized that aisa nahi hoga. It is not so black and white. Kali Yuga is such a mixed up situation. Varnas are mixed. People's inclinations are mixed. People are confused what to eat, what not to eat. Isn't it? Even the most sattvic person, when he sees pizza, he'll like. So what to eat, what not to eat, confusion. What to work as, people are confused. What should I work as? What should I do in life? So many students are there. Career counseling chahiye, guidance counseling chahiye. Why? People do not know what to do. People do not know what to study for. People do not know what to become. Worse, nowadays there's so much confusion, people are even confused about their gender. Okay, gender disparity is becoming a huge, big topic, even in India. Right, like last time I mentioned, education is there. In nowadays that the government in India is introducing the syllabus that they want to teach children to understand your gender orientation. तो छोटे बच्चे में 6th standard में they give a whole class that अगर आप थोड़ा ऐसा है शायद आप ऐसे ही हो. They actually tell them maybe you are Tritriya Prakriti, maybe you are Dvitiya, whatever. So they actually tell the children like this, and this shapes the mind of the adolescent. Now there are people nowadays who don't identify themselves as he or she. They identify themselves as they. So they change the whole grammar article. Okay? They are like that. There was one, I forgot the name, someone famous model in US, Indian only, who went to US. So he said, don't call me he. He said, don't call me she. I'm actually two identities in one body. So if you read their Wikipedia or biography about the person, everywhere is used they. A person called they were two people, one person. But that is how they have officially titled themselves. So Kali Yuga is such a confusing state where a Brahman is not really a pure Brahman, where Kshatriya is nobody is really pure in one sense. So therefore these terms of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shuddha cannot be taken in a traditional sense. It has to be understood in a functional sense. So traditional sense, what is a traditional sense? That if a person is a Brahman, for example, they would not interact with other orders of society. So like I mentioned in the early years of ISKCON also, when those Gurukulas who had these divisions, they will not allow these boys to mix with these boys. Because ye to Brahman hai, Bangen wale. And these are going to be Shudras. So don't mix with them. Now we see, for example, in our own ashram, when we are taking prasadam sometimes, and there's no one to serve, then we call the helpers or the cleaners. Hey, you bring me some extra sabji, second serving. Now in a traditional sense, you're considered dushit. Right? At least in India, in some parts, it still has this. You can't even imagine of asking that person to serve you. He's the cleaner. How can you ask the cleaner to give you prasadam, honor something which is so sacred? Doesn't make sense. But we do it. Why? Bhook, papi pet ka swal. Isn't it? Bhook lagte hai. Bhook lagte hai. Who to wait? Nobody is there standing. Where's Hari Guru bro? He's not serving. He's busy. Look. Eh, tu aa jao. Le lo. Thoda roti de do, ye de do. Correct? So what is then the Varna Ashram in traditional sense? Hey nahi. Okay? So someone can find their strong suit. Someone can find their inclination and work with that. So this is what it means by Varna Ashram in a functional sense, not in a traditional sense. So I would not say that, when Prabhupada says that we should find out whether, one is a Brahmana, Kshatriya and work accordingly. It is not in a traditional sense that now I am Brahman, I'm not going to do anything else. But one should find one's strong suit. If a person is shastrically inclined, if a person is inclined towards worshipping the deities, he may do more Brahmanical duties. And naturally, because Kali Yuga is mixed, he will still have his idiosyncrasies of going into other activities like Shudra and Vaishya and Kshatriya. It will become mixed. Because the Varnashram cannot be destroyed. It is always there. So you will never find a person who is purely Brahmanical in Kali Yuga. Because even if you take the most protected Brahmin families in India, right? Many of them, if you're born in a Brahmin family, you have Brahminical parents, you have some kind of samskar. But until and unless you do not have the Brahmin society or Brahmin culture, you will lose half your culture. You cannot sustain. Even just because your family is very strict. You will have some good habits, but you will not have the culture actually. So in Kali Yuga, everything is mixed, isn't it? It's not even possible. So in one way, if you think about the functional sense of Varna Ashram is already achieved. If you take an example of our farm community, here we see so many kinds of people who do work, who do labor work, who do puja also. But everyone in whatever their functionality is serving Krishna only. Everyone chants for regulatory principle. Everyone chants, everyone follows for regulatory principles. Everyone keeps clean. So the person who is working in the fields doing hard job, he is Brahmanical. And because he's following all the rules, but he's doing a hard job. He's doing a hard labor. Right? So in one sense, the functional sense, we cannot call people really as Shudras or Vaishyas, or therefore we call them as Vaishnavas. Right? Functional Varnashram, Daivi Varnashram is actually the functional sense of this. Because if a person who's working on the field, he says, no, you cannot come and do Aarti. Right? Would you like that, Madan Gopal? Radha Madan Gopal? You want more people to do Aarti, isn't it? So, we have by a functional sense. Of course, such a person may not be pakka in all the ucharanam and doing archanam and this kind of thing, but anyway, what is that? Who cares, isn't it? Nobody's anyways pakka. So, this is the third discussion I wanted to discuss today. So, now the fourth discussion, which is about the analogy of bulls tied with a rope, to show how there is the order of the Lord is very stringent. So this analogy comes 5 times in Bhagavatam across different sections. First it comes in the 3rd canto, where when the Devatas are fearful seeing Diti's pregnancy, they actually go to Brahma and they pray that Brahma, what to do, and then they glorify about the Supreme Lord. So they say, Yasya vacha prajah sarva gavas tantyeva yantrita. The word of the Lord controls everyone, just like the bull or the cow is controlled by the nose. Okay, so everyone should follow the words of the Vedas. This is the famous sense gratification is like salt verse. Okay, the purport which comes. So that comes first time the demigods pray. Then recently in the 4th canto, 11th chapter, which probably happened 3 years ago, 4th canto, 11th chapter. So Swayambhu Manu advised Dhruva Maharaj when he got atirosha, when he got extremely angry. He asked him to calm down, relax. He said, surrender all that you're doing, whatever works you're doing, surrender unto the Lord, because He is the ultimate controller. Gavo yata vai nasi dhama yantrisu. He used the same example. All of us are bound ultimately by the order of the Lord. So demigods prayed, Swayambhu Manu advised. Third, which will come in the 6th canto, next future. Yamaraj tells to his assistants, when the assistants are glorifying Yamaraj that you are the supreme controller, is there anyone above you? Then Yamaraj says in that verse, yes, ultimately, there is someone who is even more greater than me, who is more in charge than me. Who is that? That is the Supreme Lord, and all of us, living entities, human beings, animals, everyone are under His control. Just like a nasya otavat yasya vashe cha lokaha. Everyone in this world is controlled, just like rope drawn through the nose of a cow. He tells like that. So that is the 3rd, of course. And 5th canto comes here, so 4th ho gaya. And 5th, last, comes in the 11th canto. So when Brahmaji and Lord Shiva and all the demigods, they go to Dwarka to request Krishna that abhi ho gaya, chalo, you can go back to Dham. At that time they offer a prayer and they tell that all of us great controllers, they are all Ishas, isn't it? Brahma is an Isha, Maheshwara, they are all Ishas. Demigods, Devatas are Ishas. He said, we are all Ishas, but ultimately all of us is struggling with each other. All Ishas also, all managers also, struggling with each other under the power of time. He is the Supreme Isha and is dragged like a rope tied to a nose. So even though they are great managers, great Isha, but everyone is having their own, and everyone is surrendered to time ultimately. Jitna bhi aap aaj nirnay lenge, tomorrow he will take another decision. Everything is changing, but time is supreme. And all of us are just dragged and have to follow according to time. Right? So this all shows how Krishna's controlling power is very great. In this purport also, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in the 15th verse, in the 14th verse purport, he says that we perform actions just as the Lord orders. An example is given, we are like we are like oxen. Iske baad Goshala jana padega. We have to see. We are like oxen who are bound by their nose, carrying loads given by humans, moving about without independence. This is our actual life. It's a very starking statement. No? You read, probably we need to read 10 times. We are bound by the nose, carrying loads given by humans. That means God has given us these loads. And whatever, sanskar, vasanas, whatever it is. And we are carrying it. We are moving without independence. Isn't it? All time we feel very independent. Huh? आज मेरा ऐसा schedule बनाया. Today I'm going to do this. Today I'm going to do that. We feel very independent, but we are moving without independence. And we even receive punishment. As soon as the bull gets hit, isn't it? Punishment. So all this is coming because ultimately Krishna is always in control. Okay. So to summarize, we discussed about 4 things today. From the first verse, we discussed 2 things. That we cannot blame Lord for our idiosyncrasies or anything that goes on. Right? We saw in detail about that. Second, we saw about how when a surrendered person, he actually becomes beyond the 3 modes. Third and fourth point we saw from this 14th verse. Varna ashrama should be understood from its functional terms, not from a traditional. Therefore, we don't call ourselves, I am Brahmin, I am Kshatriya, whatever. Traditional sense of the definition of the word does not fit. And we saw about the bull controlled by the rope analogy. Right? 5 places across Bhagavatam. So like I mentioned, this entire section which Brahma is speaking speaks about the autocratic nature of the Lord, of the control of the Lord. In fact, entire Bhagavatam speaks about how Lord is supremely controlled, in supreme control, and we are supremely controlled, and we must take shelter of the Lord. But it is presented in a very sweet way, through leelas, through pastimes, through the Lord's personal nature dealing. We see the Lord's beauty, the Lord's sweetness, the Lord's compassion, and by hearing all this, willingly we want to surrender. Else if a person just says, surrender, 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 surrender. When the 100th time he says, suno, 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 the 100th time you will say, kyun? Why? Why should I listen? Isn't it? So all this is given. So since today is Dashami, so in another 5 days, Purnima will come. So Gaur Purnima is there. So I just thought, remembered one thing. In Science of Self-Realization book, SSR, we all begin our life probably with that book. In one chapter called Highest Love, I think it's the 5th or 8th chapter, I don't remember. Prabhupada writes one line. What is the highest contribution of Lord Chaitanya? Since Gaur Purnima is coming. What is the highest contribution of Lord Chaitanya? Prabhupada writes. So Prabhupada here explains that why other people may call God as Father, Supreme Giver, Supreme Controller. He says that that is limited. That relationship is limited. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has opened a whole different domain of your relationship with God. Others are just having a relationship as a father. Limited. So Mahaprabhu has opened up the 12 rasas, and of it the 5 primary rasas. And even of the 5 primary, Vatsalya is like having, you are thinking that God is your father. Here the devotee is thinking God as my son. Vatsalya, he's opened up a whole different domain. And Prabhupada says that he has even opened up the Madhurya Rasa, which was not even heard of before. Madhurya Rasa. So this is the highest contribution of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada uses this word in SSR book. One can have a sexual engagement with the Lord. This is like a bewildering statement, He uses his word. What is this? Because Prabhupada doesn't want to just say loving relationship. Oh, to father and son be loving relationship hai. Mother and son be loving relationship. So Prabhupada doesn't want to use just a loving relationship. Prabhupada wants to show the height or the glory of Ujjvala Rasa, of Madhurya. What is the highest contribution of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He has actually given Madhurya Rasa. So Prabhupada uses his word sexual engagement. Of course, we understand it is not that physical thing, but it is the height of that emotion of love. Again, love is an understatement to use the word love. Everyone has a love, right? Even a dog has a love for its master. But not that kind of love. To show the height of love, Prabhupada is using this. That one can actually have a very pure, romantic attraction or actual height of love for the Lord. So this is the highest contribution of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And to imagine, we always say in ISKCON, Mahaprabhu has given the highest to the lowest. In this sense, when we discuss today, abhi varnashram theek nahi, we are so mishrit, we are so mixed up, we don't even know what we are really low. At the same time here, Mahaprabhu is giving the highest. So we can really appreciate that, opening the doors of Madhurya Rasa, which our whole Gaudiya Parampara is advocating, ultimately, to give the highest to the lowest. Really, we have to be very grateful to Srila Prabhupada, our Parampara Acharyas, spiritual master, and of course, Lord Gauranga. So we are going to celebrate Gaur Purnima, and all devotees are thinking that the whole world should come. Why not? Why is not everyone taking the shelter of Lord Chaitanya? Right? But people cannot appreciate Lord Mahaprabhu so easily. If they can, their life is successful. So let's see when Gaur Purnima comes, how many people we can actually bring to take the shelter and to take the mercy, to hear some katha about the glories of Lord Chaitanya. And in that, actually Mahaprabhu is the only saving grace. Else, there is no other way. So we'd like to end here. Thank you all so much. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Sriman Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki. Hare Krishna.